Hello and welcome to episode 9 of the Project Bag podcast, my little podcast about making all the things, trying to make far too many things than I can manage, knitting, sewing, crochet, baking, whatever else takes my fancy, and quite a lot of nonsense. I'm Gemma and I'm coming to you as always from Kent, where I live with my husband and our two gorgeous cats who you have now both met both of them, sorry, Archie and Kit 9. I'm really pleased to be back here with you again today. It feels like only 5 minutes since I uploaded? I'm off to a good start, aren't I? Wow. Since I uploaded the last podcast. I recorded it with the best of intentions on the Monday of last week and then didn't actually get it uploaded until I think the Sunday afternoon or the Saturday evening. So it's only actually Thursday and I'm already sitting down to record, which feels like no time at all, but here we are. Let's start kicking off the episode by saying where you can find me. You can find me on Ravelry as the Project Bag UK. Information will be coming up as I say these just down here. You can find our group, which is the Project Bag, not bad, well, I hope it's not bad, the Project Bag podcast on Ravelry as well, link here, link just down below as well for you. You can find me on Instagram. I am the Project Bag on Instagram with some underscores, again, flashing up here. I have a weekly blog, not always weekly, but I try my best, which is TheProjectBagUK, and that will appear here as well. And on Facebook, we also have a social group as well, and the link will be just down below for you. So that's all the places you can find me. Welcome back to all my regular viewers. I'm so thrilled that you choose to come back each week, but it means a lot to me that you drop by to see what I've been making and to share in my crafty journey. And I'm so pleased that so many of you are starting to join in with the Ravelry Group too, and that I'm getting to know you, see all your whips. I didn't think people would have more whips than me, but okay. You want to claim the whip crown, you go ahead. Wowzers, there are some people with some whip problems, I think. Yeah. So that's that. And if you are new and checking out the podcast for the first time, welcome. It's so nice to have you here. I'm really pleased you dropped by. As you are aware, we had the 100 subscriber giveaway. I did put out an announcement as to about who had won, but I have yet to receive a message from Asteride about which of my project bags you would like to have for your very own. I'm offering one of my sock-sized project bags, so if you pop onto Etsy you can see what I've got in stock and you can choose from that. So I'm putting out another call for the 100 subscriber giveaway winner, Asteride. Please do get in touch. I'm expecting you to get in touch with me via Ravelry Messenger with your choice of bag. I'm going to give it another week or so, and then if Asteride hasn't got in touch, I may draw another prize winner. I'm not sure yet, so we'll see how we go. So that's that one. Next, I want to remind you about the amazing giveaway we have for Yarnesty's Cowl.lection. She has very very kindly donated a copy of her collection of cowl patterns. There are 6 in all. The first pattern is already out. I still haven't learned how to pronounce it, so I may record it and put it in here afterwards, but here it is. And there are 5 more which will be coming out monthly for the next 5 months. The first one's already out and people are already knitting it and it looks beautiful. I haven't cast it on. I've been very very good and quite restrained, but casting on may happen soon. I'm getting whip envy, and judging by the number of whips that you lot have got going on that you've shown me, I really don't have a whip problem. I can totally cast on more things, can't I? Totally. There's no problem here, nothing to see here. So anyway, there is a giveaway going on in the Ravelry group for a copy of her collection. The prompt is to obviously be a member of the Ravelry group and to tell me if you could design 5 patterns and name them after places that are special to you, what would those 5 places be and why? I am really enjoying reading your responses. I can't comment on them because obviously it's a giveaway thread and I need to keep the numbers nice and clear for when I'm drawing the winner. I will be drawing the winner in another week's time, so you've got one more week to join in. So episode 10, I will be announcing the winner of that giveaway. So thank you very much, Anna, for choosing the Project Bag podcast to host this giveaway of your pattern. Really appreciate it. Okay, on to cowls or Craftalongs. We have two going on at the moment. The first was the Crack Those WIPSKAL. I never get tired of doing that. If you get fed up of it, I'm not sorry. I enjoy it. I know it's silly, but hey. This started on the 16th of September, so it included Perth cast-ons. Those of you who are just perhaps catching up with podcasts, you'll be pleased to know this. I was talking about the Crack Those WIPSKAL. This is my knit-along or craft-along to encourage myself and now encourage some of you to get some WIPs finished before the end of the year. This one started on the 16th of September and it closes on the 1st of December because I would like to treat the prize winner or winners, I haven't decided yet, to something special in, you know, ready for the festive season as a reward for cracking those WIPs. There's a chatter thread. It's really fun to see all the chatter going on in there, and as I said a couple of times now, some of you got problems. Oh yeah. It's lovely to know I'm not alone in having cast on all the things and now being overwhelmed by WIPs. And we also have a finished objects thread, and I'm really pleased to see that some finished objects are going in there as well. I'm a generous podcaster and I allow one post per finished object, so each object you finish between now and the 1st of December counts as an entry for a prize. Lovely to see that going on there. Do join in. I'm also running the Great Festive Cast-On or Craft-Along, which started on the 1st of October and runs until the 24th of December. So this is for all those gift makes that you are indulging in. This is happening in two ways. First is on the Ravelry Group. There is a chatter thread there already. And secondly, in the Facebook club page on Facebook. Obviously it's on Facebook. I say intelligent things, don't I? State the obvious, Gemma. The Facebook Project Bag Club is on Facebook. Who'd have guessed? Now, the reason I'm doing it in two places is because Ravelry is predominantly for knitting and crochet and some spinning. So all of those sorts of entries, put them in the Ravelry group. But the Project Bag Club is multi-craftual. The idea behind the project bag is not just to be for knitters and crocheters. Admittedly, it's mostly what I talk about here because they're my two main crafts, but I want it to be multi-craftual. So in the Project Bag Club, if you have any paper crafting or woodwork or jewellery making or anything like that, anything crafty at all that would count for the Great Festive craft on, I suppose, not just cast on, then pop it in the Facebook group. I will be drawing for prizes from there as well. Okay, so equal opportunities. And that runs until the 24th of December. All right, so that's all the admin done, and I'm going to move on and talk a little bit about, well, actually I'm going to talk about my cup. This is the Project Bag Cup. You know how much I love this. I'm so proud of my logo. It was designed for me by Amy of Sorella Designs. I'll put up her name here. And she actually designed another logo for me, which I will talk about a little bit later as well, because I've got a bit of a topical thing to share with you today. I am drinking the Pucker Cleanse tea. I really like pucker teas. They are a little bit on the pricey side, but when you consider how much you pay for a cup of tea from a coffee shop, actually it's not too bad. And I tend to get them on offer. Pucker Cleanse is currently my favourite. It's nettle, fennel, and I think there's some peppermint in there as well. And I'm really enjoying it. It's a nice, fresh, light tea, and it isn't at all bitter, so that works for me. That works for me. I am getting back on my health kick now. I was on it in a big way and I lost a good couple of stone and I've been really healthy, but I have indulged in the last few weeks. I think it's the wintry weather as well starting to turn. I'm totally blaming the weather. Do you do that? Does anyone else do that? Oh, it's slightly grey, therefore I need to drink hot chocolate, eat more cake and start stocking up on stodgy food, you know, like casseroles and dumplings and roasts and things like that. There we are. We don't really need to pack on the pounds for the winter, do we? It's not like we're living rough. We're nice and lucky in our homes, but there we are. So yeah, I'm back on it, and actually I feel so much better. I really enjoy drinking these teas. I don't know why I bother with the other stuff, to be honest with you. Didn't stop me having a toffee latte this morning though after my blood tests, did it? Nope. Oh, so really pleased to be sat here with you. It's going to be quite a light episode and also a bit of an odd one. I am mindful that I want to try and keep them to under an hour, according to one of my even better riffs. I don't have much crafty to share with you because I have not had much knitting time. I have had no sewing time. I have done no crochet. I did not try my needle felting. I have not, despite showing off that beautiful red workbook, done any red work. Basically, my time has not been my own for the last week or so. And it's not just because I'm at work, although that is a big and slightly annoying factor, really interrupting my craft time. So I'm going to show you a couple of WIPs. I have no finished objects. I've got a new project to share with you, which is a completely new craft. Although it's not going to be much of a surprise because someone let the cat out of the bag. And I've got some acquisitions. At the end of the episode, I'm going to say now there's going to be a bit of a trigger warning. I'm going to be talking about something quite emotive. There are a couple of national awareness days and weeks going on at the moment, so I will remind you nearer the time, but please, if you're triggered, please don't feel obliged to sit and watch me talk about it, okay? I just want to give you that gentle warning to start with at the top of the episode. Right then, let's talk about WIPs. I'm just going to show you the WIPs that have had the most love. Now, this might look like a finished object, but technically it's only a hoe, a half object, because there's only one of them. And it is my chunky knit mitten design, fingerless mitts. I'm really quite proud of this. It's really simple. I have actually designed it with my beginner knitters in mind, the ones that were doing the cowl and finished because they're amazing and they're itching to get on to the next project, and they have some chunky yarn that's left over from their cowl, so I thought, well, what can we do? And fingerless mitts seem to be quite popular, so I designed these quickly in the last week. I can't believe I'm in the position of saying, oh, and I just designed these last week. They're also, I'm not completely happy with them. I've actually adjusted the pattern. Can you see here? There's all that positive ease that is just not necessary. That shouldn't be there at all. So what I've done is I've taken out the increases here for the hand. And so they will be a better fit. But there we are. So it's got twisted rib at the bottom, which looks so pretty in this chunky yarn, doesn't it? Let's hold it there. Sorry, sausage fingers, horrible. Some simple increases, the thumbs separated, and then you've got a little bit of twisted rib at the top there. I was really pleased with these. I've not designed mitts before. I've actually not even knit a mitt before. So I felt a bit arrogant trying to design them, but I guess when you've been knitting for this long, you just have an idea and an understanding of construction and what stitches do what. So yeah, I'm pretty pleased. As I said, I mean, you can see it more clearly here. That is totally not necessary. I was looking at my hand and thinking about the difference between my hand and my wrist, but actually it's much smoother, isn't it? So they've gone, so you can ignore that. Essentially fold half of that over and you've got your mitt. So the patterns, I'm editing it at the minute, and then I'm going to take some photos and get it tech edited, and that will be released soon in chunky yarn. I've used Stylecraft Chunky, and I have sewn it together using the mattress stitch, which provides a fairly invisible seam. Obviously with the increases it's not perfect. So that's that, a hoe. Keeping with mitts, I have put some more progress onto my Selbu mittens, which are designed by the ever so sweet Ellie of Skeindeer Knits. I had the great pleasure of meeting her, and I'm really pleased to finally be casting these on. I've been admiring her mitten work for such a long time, and I've been too scared, but I don't know why I was scared. Her patterns are so well written. I think it's just because, you know, people develop phobias almost. They develop hang-ups of things they expect are going to be difficult, and actually it's really not. So we're trying to sort out the needles as well. No. Sorry, we're having an attack of the I'm not very professionals today. Right, let's hold all of that out of the way. Okay, here we are. Oh, look at that. Look at that showing up on camera. I'm really pleased with this. Let's do that way so I can talk to you. Hello. Oh, it's like one of those land army girls. You can see the snowflake is appearing. The snowflake on my first mitt is appearing, and I've got this beautiful band here. Looking at that, it looks like I've done something a bit wrong. I think it's just the tension, because that's actually where the round starts here. But yeah, I'm really pleased with that. You can see the snowflakes emerging. I had hoped to have the first mitten finished with or without the thumb. And there we are. You can see the thumb increases are happening here. You can't. I'm not doing that. Oh, I can't show you. Failing. Oh, there we are. Right, so you can see the thumb increases happening here. And I'm really pleased with the fit so far. I'm hoping I'm not going to stretch it out too much with my fat hands, but there we are. I am using Springfield Farms yarns. This debuted at Perth this year, and they released the two colourways that I'm using, the grey and the yellow. And I love these together. I know it's very in at the moment, grey and yellow, but actually I just genuinely really am enjoying knitting this. I like the contrast. I'm already eyeing up different colourwork mitts. The lovely Amy is knitting some other beautiful ones, and she also showed me when we were at Perth a picture of her. I think they were thistle mittens. They are beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So now I want all the colourwork in my life. I have a feeling I'm going to dive down this rabbit hole in a big way. So there we are, my Selbu mittens. The other project that has seen some love this week is my gradient garter stitch blanket. You can see it's growing. It's not big enough yet, it's not finished yet, but we are actually unable to go, oh, whack myself in the head with my needle. We are actually unable to go and visit Baby Plum for a little while longer. We were hoping to go last weekend, but my husband very, very generously gave me his horrible cold. And of course, the last thing you want to do is when you've got a friend who's just given birth and you've got a little one is to traipse around with a cold. So we sadly haven't been able to meet Baby Plum yet, but we are hoping to get up to London soon for big squishes and cuddles, and by which time I should hopefully have finished his blanket, because this was requested by his big sister. I love these colours, they're so sweet, aren't they? Aren't they lovely? So this is a Sirdar Snuggly Pattercake yarn cake. It's currently picking up bits of fluff from the inside of my bag, because it's not living in a project bag, it's going in a tote to work with me, because I'm doing bits at lunchtime. I've got quite a bit left. I am obviously nowhere near halfway, but when I get there I'll just start decreasing. The pattern is on the ball band. On to acquisitions, and I have a couple to share with you. The first thing, and there's going to be some rustling that arrived, this was my choice to have it in a Ziploc bag. The lovely Sharon and Andrew of Dragon Hill Studio Yarns. Here's their yarn label. Created some mini cakes for their Sherborne Sparkle sock. You might remember I am knitting the Dahlia colourway. I think it's not just Dahlia, it's something Dahlia colourway. I can never remember. I'll put it here if I can find the little card. And I was knitting, and it was striping socks, and I was watching Amy's podcast, and she mentioned again about, and I'm pretty sure it was Amy. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Amy. If it's not, it doesn't really matter who it was, does it? I was watching a podcast and they were talking about not interrupting the stripe pattern of self-striping socks. So to use contrasting, that they prefer to use contrasting colours for the heels so you don't interrupt the stripe pattern. And I thought, you know what, that's a really good point. I've got these beautiful stripes forming with this sock. So I happened to comment on something that Sharon said on Instagram, and I said, you know, do you have, sorry, I've got an itch, do you happen to have any minis that will go with my socks? And she said, well, no, we don't at the moment, but we are looking to expand our minis. I'll talk to his nibs. And they dyed some up. These are available in their shop. I'll put the link here. So you can get mini cakes because they have been busy dyeing up lots. And she said to me, right, what do you want? Do you want the pink or the green? And I have gone for the pink. I am not a pink person. I know I like purple, as evidenced by everything around me. I'm not typically a pink person, but I really love this delicious kind of raspberry pink. There we are. It's a high twist sock base with some silver stellina, which is the sparkle. And this is just absolutely beautiful. They did say they'd cake it up, or I could have it as this, like this, and it would come fit through my letterbox. And actually I wanted it faster. I didn't want to have to go to the post office or to my neighbour to collect it, so I opted to have it in a Ziploc bag and popped in a large letter envelope and delivered to me a little bit faster. So, oh, look at that. I've even managed to twist it. It's beautiful. So there we are. I'm getting quite good at skeining, she says, letting go of it and then immediately spilling it. The next acquisition, and I'm not sure if my friend is watching the podcast particularly at the moment because she's a teacher as well and it's school and busy and life. And my friend is actually expecting. So as you knew, 2 of Lara's godmothers are expecting. One has delivered, baby Plum is here, and the other is due on Christmas Day. I did a bit of stash raiding on Ravelry. It's one of the main functions that I use on Ravelry. I'm learning everything else. My project page is practically empty. I decided I wanted to make the boxy sweaty. No, not the sweaty. The boxy sweater by Joji Locatelli for my friend who is pregnant. It's her birthday in December and obviously she'll be very heavily pregnant by that point. She'll be just over 8 months pregnant, and I wanted to knit her a sweater that she could wear in the latter stages of pregnancy and feel cozy and know she's loved, but also that would look good post-pregnancy. So the boxy it is, and I decided, because I'm sensible like this, and to knit it in the worsted weight or DK weight. There are a few different patterns, a few different variations that Joji's done. I know obviously she's done the fingering weight, I know she's done the worsted. I've got a feeling that there's a heavier one as well. I will try and find out and I will pop the details here if I can find them. So I needed 5 skeins of worsted yarn. I did not want to use a commercial yarn because I wanted something variegated and beautiful that's just a little bit more special. I mean, I know this probably isn't terribly practical when she's going to be covered in baby puke and things and, you know, all the gorgeousness that comes with little ones. I just wanted, one of the things I really love about other people's boxies that I've seen, Amy's wearing her boxy a lot on the podcast, I'm sure you've seen it. My friends knit a gorgeous one in really dark colours. It's like a rust and a burgundy and an evergreen, and it's got all these beautiful tones. I love that, and I think if you've got this big swathe of fabric that the boxy is, you want a little bit of variety and variation in it. I thought about getting some, I've got enough DK in to stripe, and I thought, well, no stripes, that's not going to be very forgiving. So I toyed that idea, discarded that idea. There was the opportunity to get some beautiful Ushitia? No, Ushkishit. I can't do it. Even the camera's given up. I'll put it here. I might leave these. Alright, I'm assuming I've edited this quite heavily. I look like I'm crying because I've been laughing so hard trying to pronounce the name of this yarn that I almost bought. Here it is. I can't do it. I might leave them. I might leave them in, or I might add them at the end as outtakes. Anyway, beautiful, but mostly cream, like the Sattler cardie that I made, and I just thought she's going to look like she's wearing a bedsheet. So I did some raiding, and I came up with Manos Silk Blend, Manos del Uruguay, in the 30% silk, 70% merino extra fine wool, and it's kettle dyed, and look at that. That's gorgeous, isn't it? I mean, it's coming up quite red. I think it's actually a little bit more pinky than it's coming up on here. It's a little bit more muted, but it's gorgeous. Oh, there we are. That's it. It's gorgeous. And I've got 5 skeins of this, and I got them for an absolute song. I've got them for £30, and that's plenty of yarn. I'm going to do the smallest size. Amy is such a sweetheart. She, when I had her in the car and she was trapped, I asked her a question. I asked her about the boxy and how much ease it's got, because I'd asked my knitting group and not had any responses. And I know it's supposed to have a lot of ease, but I wanted to know how much ease. So I wanted to know, basically I wanted a bit of help working out what size, because my Lara's godmother is tiny. When she's not pregnant, obviously she's not so tiny now. And I wanted to make sure I was getting a size that would fit bump, but would also flatter her as well. So Amy was an absolute sweetheart and gave me some help working out how much I needed. And we've worked out I'm going to do the smallest size, because Lara's godmother's a cow and is tiny and has a figure that we all envy. And yeah, so I'm gonna have plenty here. This is not cast on. Her birthday is in 2 months' time. 2 months, less than 2 months. It's the 11th of October today. I'm pretty certain her birthday is the 10th of December. I could be making it up. It could be the 2nd of December, and well, there you go. Somehow I'm going to get this done by her birthday. Wish me luck. So that's it for acquisitions. The only other thing I've got to talk to you about is a little bit exciting. I have been trying my hand at yarn dyeing, but this isn't news to you. This isn't a surprise. My lovely friend Amy, who I'm so pleased to be able to count as a friend, very sweetly showed off a project bag that I made her. You would have seen, it's actually the one I've been talking about on my podcast for a while. Said I was sending it to someone who didn't know they were getting it. It's a surprise. Well, I sent it to her last week, and sweetheart that she is, she decided to show it off on her podcast and also said that I dye yarn. Which is true. I have been playing with dyeing yarn and we've been messaging back and forth, and she's been an absolute darling to me. But I hadn't planned on telling anyone. Reason being, I wanted to reserve the right to chicken out if it went wrong. Right at the beginning, people who are part of the Project Bag Facebook group will know that I shared a video and talked about the few things that are coming up, that tutorials were going to be happening and a podcast was going to be happening, and I was keeping some other stuff under my hat in case it went wrong. Well, the other stuff was the yarn dyeing. And do you know what? It hasn't gone wrong. It hasn't gone wrong. And Amy has actually done me a massive favour by spilling the beans and telling people on her podcast that I dye yarn, because it actually forced me to get the wool out of the car, and it's been living in the car since I went to Chester Wool on the first weekend in September. Forced me to go and get it out and actually start dyeing it. I'd had some practice on some yarn that I'd found. Well, no, I hadn't found. I'm telling you lies now. My lovely friend Myra found some undyed yarn in the charity shop, and she very kindly gave it to me. This was when I wasn't well. This is when I was at home suffering from depression, and she was trying her best to support me and help me come back to myself a little bit when I wasn't interested in anything. I'll talk more about that later, but I'd been practicing on this undyed yarn from the charity shop, and that's okay because that's from the charity shop. But this stuff is stuff I bought from Chester Wool, and it's quite a significant outlay of money to get your first proper order from Chester Wool. So I did go there with the intention of writing a blog post and squishing undyed yarn, and I did go there with the intention of picking some up to play with. But picking some up to play with, you could count as a teensy bit of a white lie, just a little one. I picked up quite a bit with the intention of, if it went well, that I would have yarn in my shop as well. So without any further ado, I'm going to show you what I've been doing. Yeah. Oh, I feel as vulnerable right now as if I was about to strip naked in front of you. I'm not, don't panic, I'm not. But that's how I feel. I feel really vulnerable. Let's start with the one that started it all. I dyed some yarn and I used, I'm not going to say what colours I used, but what came out was this brilliant, vibrant green and almost electric blue within it. And my husband looked at it and said, that's a peacock. And so that I wanted to be one of my colourways. It has dyed up differently on this yarn that I've got here, because it's a different yarn base. But I'm still quite pleased with it. So this is Peacock. The lights are blowing it out. It's actually a lot more green than it's coming up here, but what I keep experiencing is that how it's looking to me on my phone, it actually looks different on the computer screen. So I'll put a yay or nay here as to whether it's coming up true to form. So it's quite deep, it's quite dark, but you can see the electric blue coming in here and the green base. If I unravel it a bit more, you can see the different colours coming in there. It's really not showing up correctly on this. So yeah, there we go. Absolutely, oh, that's a bit better. Absolutely love it. Really, really pleased with this colour. Now what this was actually me trying to do Peacock for the first time on my DK 100% superwash merino yarn from Chester. And I was doing it in a big pot for the first time. I was doing 4 skeins together for the first time, whereas the first time I'd done Peacock, I'd done it in not a bain-marie setup quite. I'd taken a small stainless steel roasting tin that actually only fits 1 skein in properly at the time, and obviously I'd increased my measurements of the dye, but I hadn't increased them enough obviously for the amount of water and the amount of yarn I had. So it's much lighter, as you can see, and I've called this Song of the Sea. So it's a muted, it's not coming up muted at all. I don't know what's going on with this light. Let me try. Okay, so I've just adjusted the white balance on my camera, and this is showing up a bit more true to form now. Just a little bit. Yeah, so you can see the variations a little bit clearer. Also on my DK base, I have Fuchsia, and that's pretty much accurate. It's lovely. I started off with this bright pink, and then I gradually overdyed it until I got this gorgeous fuchsia-y colour. I'm going to play around with the balance again. Okay. There we go. That's a bit more like it in real life. Yeah, that's better. Okay, I'm going to keep playing around with the colour, with the lighting. Let me swap myself around. Here we are. Right, okay, I can talk to you and show you the yarn. Yeah, so there it is. I'm really quite pleased with this. I'm pleased with how it turned out. It was a total experiment. All of this is a total experiment, apart from 2 colourways that I dyed before. But this was a happy experiment. And I've got some hanging up here, and again, all dyed at the same time, but look completely different. So here's one unskeined. It's actually not quite dry yet. You see? And this one seems to have taken more of the purple. Oh, it smells amazing. You use citric acid when dyeing yarn, and then you want to take the citric acid or the excess acid off, so you wash the yarn when you finish dyeing it. I love this. I'm so pleased with this. I'm so pleased with this. Sorry, I know it sounds awful, but this is a new thing, and I've tried it for the first time, and it's not gone horribly wrong. There have been some horrible accidents. I will talk about those in a bit. But yeah, there we are. Just love it. And so yeah, I've used soak wool wash as well to lift it, and it's got that lovely wool washy smell as well. But there we are. So that is fuchsia. I think I'm going to name it fuchsia because to me that has captured the colours of a fuchsia plant. I'm going to put a picture here. See what you think. So let's hang that up. And then on Aran weight, I've got a couple of different colours. This is not named, but it is pretty. It's a lot more lilac actually. Let's see if I can. Is that showing up a bit better? That's possibly a bit bright. Let's bring that down a bit. There we are. Okay, yeah. Yeah, that's about right. So it's quite lilac with some blues. There's only one of these, and the reason there's only one is because I dyed it and then thought, oh, to me that looks a lot like someone else's work. Hutch has done this whole thing on live lately, and I couldn't agree more. There's only so many things you can do with dyes and yarn, and there's a difference between deliberately setting out to copy someone and happening upon a colourway that's kind of similar. To me, this is quite similar to something that someone I know dyes, and I want to talk to them about it before carrying on to dye. So at the moment it's a one of a kind. I've got just one skein of the Aran in this, but I'm really pleased with it. I really like it. I love the kind of, I mean, this bit shows it off quite well. See the blues and the purples all together there. I really like that. So that's that. And this is MCN Aran, Merino Cashmere Nylon Aran. So it's got this nice kind of spring, and it's really squishy, and oh, it's just a little bit of luxury to wear against your skin. This would make an amazing cowl, a mitts, or a hat. How good's that for winter? Does my head look big in this? I've gone silly. And I stopped. I only did the one skein like that because I really liked what I'd achieved with the other two skeins. And so that was an experiment. So I thought I'd just do it with one skein and then see. As you know, I've stopped for another reason. I'm just going to get up and get the other two that I've got unskeined. Okay, and here they are. You can see the difference. That's much more bluey, whereas this is just lilac. I love it. It looks frosted and gorgeous with the lilac in there. Again, it's not, that's better. Okay, so it's just got these tones of lilac in here. I haven't named it. I love it enough to make it a proper colourway. I think that would look great as a sweater. I've deliberately dyed light colours on the Aran because Aran lends itself really well to cables, and cables show up better on lighter coloured yarn. I mean, they do show up nicely on dark ones as well, but I just thought, especially for winter, there's something a bit frosty and frozen about this, and I think that would make a lovely sweater or a lovely hat. Yeah, so that's that one. They're not skeined because they're not actually quite dry yet. I'm going to make myself so many problems by hanging these up here. Okay, and now my absolute favourite. It's a bit of a funny story. It didn't come out how I was intending when I was doing the practice on the charity shop yarn, and I didn't like it particularly because it wasn't what I'd intended to create, and because I had it in my head that I'd intended to create something, I then rejected what I had created. I showed it actually first. I showed it first to Amy, and she said she really liked it. And my husband said, "Well, why don't you like it? Look at it again." And I looked at it in a new light, and actually, it has now become, believe it or not, my favourite colourway. Ta-da! Here it is. This is Grubby Goldfish. I love it. I love the name. I love the colours. I'm really proud of it. It's actually a little bit soggy still. It's got this lovely yellow tone, and it's got this golden orange over the top and some chestnut coloured speckles. And to me, that looks like a goldfish, doesn't it? And because it's speckled and variegated, it will knit up really nicely. It will, yeah. I'm going to knit some up just to see myself. I mean, you can really see here, look, you've got the variant of the yellow and the orange and the chestnut speckles. I really love it. And this will always be different from skein to skein, because the way in which I dye it, I can only actually dye one at a time. And although I use the same recipe, subtle differences in the way the yarn might be laid out in the pot, or how heavy-handed I am with the speckling, I call it splodging at the moment, will make a difference. So this is one skeined up. I've got two to show you that aren't, and you'll see the differences here. Okay, so this is the first one, and you can see it really does look very goldfishy, doesn't it? It's got these almost barely dyed parts and these much deeper orange parts with the speckles. And to me, that is a goldfish, and I love it. I absolutely love it. I want to knit all the things in this colourway. So this is on my sock yarn, which is merino nylon, 75-25, I think, and it's not high twist, it's normal. I'll just check. And again, you've got these bits that are almost barely dyed at all, with these really deep orange bits and these chestnutty speckles, and I love it. I love it so much. I'm so pleased. It brings me such joy to dye this, and actually I can see some sister colourways to this coming out as well. I'm thinking phoenix feathers, for example. I just want to put maybe some more red in there and take out the speckles perhaps, or put red. I don't know. I've got so many ideas, but this has become my favourite. So there's one. So there you are. There's my dyeing, my first attempt. And I am so pleased with how it's gone. I am so grateful to Amy for letting the cat out of the bag on her podcast, because actually, Amy, if you hadn't, my yarn would still have been sat in the boot of my car and I still would have been too scared to give it a go. So thank you. For those of you that may or may not be wondering, I am intending to sell my yarn. This isn't just being dyed for me, although at the moment there's a real chance I'm going to knit up most of it at some point. Yeah, the idea is to offer yarn from the Project Bag shop as well. So in my next major update, which will be happening towards the end of the month, I will be including these colourways for sale. So there is my sock yarn, which is merino nylon. There is my DK yarn, which is 100% superwash merino, and my Aran yarn, which is merino cashmere nylon Aran as well. So those are my three bases. I have bought some other bases to have a play with. I've got yak singles to play with. I've got actually, I'm not going to tell you that because I'm hoping that will become my next DK base, and I just want to play with it first and see. So yeah, I will be playing some other ones. I'm showing you Grubby Goldfish again because I just love it. It didn't all come out brilliantly. There's another one I made and it looked a bit like mud, but it was purple leaning mud. And Alan's saying to me, oh, can you call it something, you know, like poached plum or something? I was like, it's like mouldy plum. And the guy at Chester said that needs to become a colourway name. I'm not sure anyone would buy that. Again, I've looked at it again since, and while I don't love it with the passion that I love Grubby Goldfish with, which I'm showing you again because I love it so much, I do really like it. So there we are. That's what I've been up to this week. Okay, so now I'm going to give you that trigger warning again. This week is Babyloss Awareness Week, and yesterday is also Mental Health Day. So I'm going to be talking about these two things now, and if this is a trigger for you, I totally understand. You're not in any way obliged to sit and listen to me talk. I'm already getting emotional just thinking about talking about it. So I will wish you a very lovely week, whatever you're up to. Do join the Ravelry group, do share your whips and what you're up to, join the Project Bag podcast group as well. And I will see you back here next week for another cup of tea and a crafty chat. For those of you that are sticking around, you will know already, I'm sure, that I am a mummy, but that my daughter lives in heaven. Lara. I am so proud of Lara, and I can't believe I'm starting to cry already because this is meant to be happy, but I think it's just the knowledge of what I'm about to talk about. This week is Babyloss Awareness Week, and I wanted to talk about that because it's part of my mission, I suppose, to break the taboo about talking about baby loss. People are already aware that there is a taboo about talking about mental health and suicide, and people are working really hard to break that taboo, and it's starting to be broken. We're starting to see a difference, and that's wonderful. But there is still quite a big taboo about talking about baby loss. My daughter Lara was born 3.5 months prematurely on the 11th of February this year. She defied all the odds. She was strong, she was healthy, she was breathing on her own. She got up to so many antics that it just brings me such joy to think of her and talk of her. And then she died. She died. Totally unexpectedly. It was a great shock to us as her parents, to the rest of her family, to everyone who loved her and followed her story, and to the doctors and nurses themselves. We actually last week had the hospital appointment to talk about Lara's care and talk about everything and talk about the post-mortem and the coroner's findings, and Lara has now become a statistic. Lara joins the other babies that make up the 50 to 60% of neonatal deaths that are never understood. We know a lot about fetal medicine and neonatal medicine, but we don't know enough. And 50 to 60% of baby losses are never explained. I want to talk today about talking. I am almost 7 months into this journey. Today Lara would have turned 8 months old. I can hardly believe it. I imagine what she'd be doing. She would probably be rolling all over the floor, sitting up by now, you know, even though she's technically only 5 months old because she was so premature. And getting into all sorts of hijinks and causing us all sorts of mayhem. And I like to think somewhere she's doing that now anyway. Probably giving her her great granddads who are up there, probably giving them hell. It's an oxymoron for you, isn't it? I'm 7 months into this journey and I've learned a couple of things, and I'd like to pass these things on to you. First of all, you are closer than you think to someone who has lost a child. Whether it is an early pregnancy loss, or a mid-pregnancy loss, or a later pregnancy loss, or a stillbirth, or a neonatal death. I think something like 1 in 6 pregnancies. That's quite a high statistic. 15 babies every day die in the UK. That's nearly 5,500 a year, which is enough students to fill 5 average sized secondary schools. That's a lot of children that are missing. And yet we don't talk about it, and that's a problem. My husband and I have experienced a few different things since losing Lara. We have been very lucky to experience overwhelming support from people for us and for our daughter. There's been overwhelming love for our daughter shared as well for Lara, which is amazing. But there tends to be 2 reactions among people. We are still parents, and for us that means we can still join in conversations about pregnancy, about choosing names, about all of those things, the magic of when your little one first enters the world. Those things are no less real for us because Lara isn't with us, and because Lara stopped at just over a month old. That's no less real. But if we mention her name, we tend to see one of 2 things happening, or 3 things: a rapid change in subject, a grimace, people suddenly frowning and looking uncomfortable, or the 3rd one, which actually is the rarest one, but the one that means the most to us, which is when we say Lara's name, people smile. There's someone in my department, I'm working in the school at the moment, who smiled today when I mentioned Lara, and that meant the world. There's someone my husband knows who smiles whenever he mentions Lara's name and encourages him to talk about her, and that means a lot. The other thing that happens is people try and say too much, or they don't say anything at all. No one knows what to say, and I can't tell you what to say to someone who's lost a child, even though I'm going through it, because it's a very personal thing. But what I can tell you is those people that have reached out, even to say, I don't know what to say, but I want you to know I'm thinking of you. That's better than having someone going completely silent on you because they don't know what to say and because it's awkward and difficult. Actually being there and saying something, even if it's I don't know what to say, is better than saying nothing at all. When I say people try and say too much, that's where some people sometimes try too hard and they unwittingly, completely accidentally hurt you by saying things like at least. I'm going to say this, there is no at least in baby loss. Yes, there are things I can be grateful for. Lara was healthy. Lara wasn't poorly throughout her little life. She didn't know much in the way of pain or suffering other than having a cannula put in a couple of times and having her face washed, which she hated. And she screamed the place down when she had her face washed. But that was it for Lara. In that sense, we were very lucky. She was very lucky. She had a life full of love and cuddles and gentle stimulation from her nurses and from us. She had stories. We held her, we sang to her, we fed her after a fashion, we did all those things that parents do, and we loved her. And so in that sense, yes, she was lucky, and we're grateful. Yes, we got to meet her. Lots of parents don't get to do that. Lots of parents lose their children immediately after birth when it's so premature, or sadly the babies are born stillborn. We got to meet her. We're grateful for that. But there's no at least. Case in point, there's a forum called the SANS Forum. It's run by the SANS charity, Stillbirth and Neonatal Death Society. And the mummies and daddies on there, bereaved mummies and daddies, share their stories. And I've had parents reach out to me and say, I can't imagine how awful it is to get to meet your child and then have her taken away from you. That's so awful. That's much worse than my situation. And their situation might be a stillbirth. And actually I'm on the other side of the fence looking, going, I can't imagine having to labour to give birth to a child that's already passed away. So it's all relative. It's all relative. But there's no at least in baby loss. Lara's legacy, I'm setting it up to try and raise awareness myself. Bliss is doing wonderful work as well. I guess I could get really deep into this and I don't want to. I just want to give a couple of takeaways. One, don't worry if you don't know what to say to a bereaved parent, because they don't know what to say either. There's nothing to say in lots of ways, because you're right, nothing can fix this. Nothing can fix it, because that child will always be gone and there'll always be a part of those parents missing. So don't worry about not knowing what to say. Just let them know you're there. Try not to say things like at least. Everybody I've spoken to agrees that that's not helpful. That's not helpful. There will be things for parents to be grateful for, but they need to discover those in their own time. And trying to present a silver lining when a child's died doesn't work. It's not helpful. The other thing I'd like you to take away is to talk about the child. This child existed, even if the parents didn't get to meet them outside of the uterus. That little one had personality. From 14 weeks, Lara would not let me sit up straight. Now, 14 weeks is less than the size of my hand. Like, head to toes, she would have fit in the palm of my hand. 14 weeks is tiny. But she would stretch herself out if I tried to sit upright, so I ended up leaning back, so she had all the room. And even when she was born, she was so small. I was like, what on earth did you need all that room for? She had bags of personality, and her personality when she was born matched the personality that I felt that she had while she was with me, while she was still being carried by me. So ask about them. So don't change the subject. Ask what the baby's name is. Ask who they look like. Do they look like mum or do they look like dad? Ask what the memories are, the nice things, the non-medical things. Ask to share those things, because these are proud parents. Every parent is proud of their child, even if the circumstances mean that they never get to meet them. And these childs count. Children count. These babies count, these families count. It means the world to me. We met the consultant last week who looked after Lara the morning she died. The consultant that fought his hardest to save her and couldn't. I won't share what went on in that meeting because that's between us. But I will share that he said, please tell me what she was like, because I didn't get to meet her when she was alive. And I said, oh, well, you've asked for it now. I've got hundreds of pictures and you're going to have to look at them because I'm a proud mummy. And that was lovely to be able to share her and to be able to share those things. That meant a lot. So yeah, those are my 3 takeaways. Don't be afraid of not knowing what to say. Just being there helps. Try not to encourage parents to see silver linings. They know that there are things to be grateful for, believe me. But that's for them to work out how to do. And talk about the children. Celebrate their lives. Celebrate the fact they were here, that they existed, they were loved, are loved, they are important. If you would like to help, there are so many things you can do. Follow Bliss on Twitter. They've got a lovely video about baby loss awareness that's really beautifully done. Share that this week. If you want to knit for your local NICUs, there are lots of websites. There are some that I'm showing on the project bag at the moment. There's a national page as well that collects things that are knitted or crocheted. You can donate blankets to your local funeral homes as well, because Lara has a beautiful blanket that my mum knit, but sometimes babies don't have anything, so beautiful blankets for the funeral homes, that would mean a lot to parents as well. So there are things like that you can do. I'm sure making quilts and things for Project Linus, which gives things to children in hospitals from newborns to the age of 16, is a really worthwhile cause. Incubator covers, washing bags for the NICU units, all those sorts of things. There are lots of ways you can get involved and you can help. And this goes for me hand in hand with mental health awareness, because grief is not a mental illness. And one of the things that I've had personally that I was shocked from health professionals is that they wanted to medicate me immediately. They were worried about my mental health, and I understand that, but grief is a process. It's a journey, it's very personal, and people deal with it in different ways. So by all means keep an eye on the person that you're concerned about, but remember that grief is a very personal journey, and just because they're not acting in the way that you'd expect doesn't mean that it's not valid or their personal journey. I actually hit rock bottom and wanted nothing more than to be with Lara, and I did become genuinely suicidal, and my doctor said that's a lot more normal than you'd expect. I spoke to some baby loss mummies that I know, and they said, well, yeah, it's a case of it's not reported. Not many people would out and say, I want to be with my daughter in any way I can. And I was made to feel that somehow I was at fault or wrong or grieving incorrectly because they wanted to put me on medication straight away, and I fought for my right to grieve. I said, no, it's a process. It's a process that I have to go through, and I want to feel it, and I need to feel it. And now I have days where I'm okay. I'm always sad. I always miss my daughter. But there are days where I'm more okay than I was. That in itself is conflicting. I feel guilty for being okay. When I was at Perth on the Friday night with some lovely knitters at the gin flight night, I laughed until I cried. And there was a little voice going, but you shouldn't be here. You shouldn't be here. And that's another thing to battle, is the guilt at being here when your child is not, even though it's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. And before I go, I want to share a couple of other things, as well as the things I've asked you to take away already. Just the same as with mental health and suicide rates in men. Men grieve too. Talk to them. They want to talk about their children. Reach out to them. There are some Facebook groups for dads. I'm going to put the links down below. There is space on the Sans forum for dads as well, just for dads. But don't assume that because we seem okay on the outside that we're not hurting on the inside. We need that support too. Dads need that support too. The coroner actually upset me by saying to me on the phone, oh, this is too distressing for you, I'll talk to Dad. How would you think that Dad's any less distressed? The other thing is grandparents. My mother-in-law's amazing. She really is. She has been a force to be reckoned with in helping us get things finally sorted at the hospital. She took over when we didn't have the energy to liaise with the coroner's office and the hospital anymore. at great emotional expense to herself, and she made things happen. But the thing is, grandparents have a really hard job because they're grieving too. But at the same time, they're also trying to support their children, just the same as no parent should ever have to bury their child. No parent should have to see their own child go through that. So, and often they don't have as strong support networks. I'm not saying all the time, but often they don't. Where does their grief go? Who do they lean on? So if you know someone whose child has lost a child, check in with them, let them know you're there. Just sporadically, periodically, ask the same questions that you would of the parents. I hope that you haven't found this too distressing. I hope that in some small way you found what I've had to say this afternoon useful. I appreciate that you will have found it very challenging and very sad. I found it challenging and sad to record, but at the same time it's important. I mean what I say. My inbox is open if you would like to reach out to me. There have been such positive changes. We are no longer the society that tells people to get up and get on and get over it that we were 40 years ago, where mums weren't allowed to see their sick babies and they weren't permitted to have funerals. We've moved on a lot, but we do need to talk. We need to be there for one another and support one another. There's a lot of us walking wounded. I'm very sorry to have ended on such an emotional note. I am struggling to know what else to say, but there are my 3 takeaways. And if any of you are affected by this, by all means reach out to me. I don't always have enough spoons to make it through to the end of each day as it is, but I'll be here. I'll listen. And if you need someone to talk to, I can put you in touch with various people, various organisations, hopefully in your local area, but I'm also here. My inbox is open. I'm going to leave you with one final message, and that is that the 15th of October at 7 o'clock there is a movement to light the world, to remember these little ones. And the idea is that for an hour at 7 o'clock you light a candle in memory of a little one that isn't here. And we have this candle that was bought for us by a dear friend. But it has her date on there, the date she left us. And for Lara, remembered and forever loved. And on the 15th, we're going to light her candle for an hour. And we're going to think of her, well, we always think of her, but we'll think of her. And we'll think of all the other babies we know. Let's light up the world for these little ones and their families. If you can, please join us in lighting a candle on the 15th of October at 7 p.m. Let's light the world like these little ones lit up our worlds when they were with us for however short a time. I hope that you have a really good week, whatever it is you're up to. And as I say, my inbox is open if you want or you need. I'll say goodbye for now. Take care.